No doubt, no doubt. And speaking of shells, we might be talking about taco shells here as we head into the world famous. Luke, you get to participate in halftime hot takes tonight. How do you feel about that?
I'm pumped. I have some extremely spicy takes about stadium food and a lot of opinions. So we could go for a long time on this.
Beautiful. So, halftime hot takes. We'll plug our show real quick. Thanks all who are out here for watching Friend Stream Sports. Uh, Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. If we get to 50 subscribers on YouTube, I'll do something crazy. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to do something to celebrate getting 50 YouTube subscribers. So maybe I'll have some Carolina Reaper sauce. I'll just take a Carolina Reaper and just kind of go, just munch on a Carolina Reaper.
It's not
Um, that'd be wild. So as we jump into halftime hot takes, Luke, I want to hear the question tonight. We want to hear some of your ball game food, stadium food power rankings. Let's hear them.
All right. So I'm gonna have to rank these on the fly because I didn't really put these in order. So I'm just going to say what I think is really important. Like this is a collection of important stadium foods. First one, to achieve balance in your stadium snacking experience, you got to have, your meals, you got to have your desserts, you got to have your snacks. So Sour Patch Kids, often thought of as a theater food, but when you're watching the theater of life or the theater of competition, they just hit the spot. They're one of my all-time favorites for any situation. So they make the cut. The next thing, I'm thinking specifically like college football.
Yes.
But it could apply to any stadium where you have a tailgate situation outside. Is tailgate food that you stuff in your pocket and sneak in. It doesn't really matter what it is, but you wrap it in napkins or like maybe a bag or something. You stuff it in a pocket, and then about the third quarter, you're like, oh yeah, I've got like blank in my pocket, and it's like completely destroyed and like messy, but it's delicious.
I've got a stick of butter in my pocket. Let me eat that.
It works great. Like when you're walking past tailgates, someone's got some baked goods or some brownies or something, you just snag that. It's like, this is going to taste really good later. I'm going to be proud of myself. Um, next thing, nachos with the fake cheese and jalapenos. It's complete garbage, but it's beautiful. Next thing, very important. You get the little tiny bottles of Jack Daniels or whiskey or whatever, whatever's available. Stuff those in your socks. I don't know how strict your security is where you're observing a game, but then you just grab yourself a Coke or a Coke Zero, and you got yourself a nice Jack and Coke, Jack and Coke Zero, Jack and Coke Vanilla Cherry.
Whoa.
Whoa. But that's a must.
That's a veteran move.
Well, yeah. If you go to a football game and a beer is like $28, it becomes important.
Yes.
And then finally, all-time undefeated, something that like really big is a chili dog. Ideally, they're going to have the chili on it and then wrap it in like that kind of foil stuff. So where it like kind of like seeps all the way through the bread, really, and by the time you eat it, it's like kind of fused into this one solid like messy thing, like amorphous blob. And I don't know what's in those things, but they're perfect.
Nice. Oh yes. No, that's it. And I think it's different when you have the kind, like, depending on the weather of the day, right? If
Of
it's
course.
the tailgate brownie that you stuff in your pocket might be great in September, but the chili dog might be what you need in December.
Yes. I mean, I would say both of those are better in December because the brownie will melt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You need to be a little bit colder outside for the brownie in your pocket.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that does change the dynamic for sure. So Luke, I definitely hear you that in so many ways as it relates to stadium food, there's values of, that you have to abide to with stadium food. And for me, a great value piece is the overall messiness of the stadium food. I don't want messy stadium food. I don't. I want to keep my hands clean if I'm clapping, if I'm, there will be a time when we're shaking people's hands again and high-fiving. I'm confident there, and I don't want to have like all the gunk on my hands. So as
Yeah.
I put together my list, here's some of my halftime hot takes in terms of stadium food. Number one, this is a prime Orlando City summer game. If it's a 6 o'clock Saturday night game, so it's still 1,000 degrees outside, especially when you're on the aluminum stands there at Exploria Stadium. I know it's expensive, but if they're pouring a ice baby cold kind of lager beer, something light, that, I mean, it's the only reason why it's not frozen is just the freezing temperature is, very, very low. That's tough to beat. That's tough to beat after a half of cheering, and then
It's hard to beat.
and then you take a nice sip of that. I'm a fan of that. Number two for me, and this is a little bit nostalgic, when I'd go to Magic games in the past, there was nothing better than that smell of those little personal pizzas. I'm a personal pizza fan. That, just the fake, just that greasy cheese and the pepperoni with and I know I said I'm going to keep it clean here, but the pepperoni with the pools of grease, but that doesn't get on your hands because it seeps into the pizza itself. So big fan of that. Luke, I know you'll appreciate this. Stadium food, halftime Gatorade and Snickers bar. For those who might not know, Luke and I were teammates at Wheaton College. One of us played and one of us was on the team. And the one who was on the team got to have great snacks at halftime with front row seats to the football games while in college. And then
I had my share of Snicker bars during halftime.
yes. And then finally, and this, I think, where you and I are definitely on the same page. I think that those classic, I'm going to go first off, I'm going to start with the classic, maybe not chili dog, but I'll go with the classic hot dog with the nacho cheese, that baked nacho cheese that gets poured on the hot dog. You can hold it in one hand. If they don't put too much on it, it's not spilling everywhere. It's beautiful. That followed by I'm going to call it the classic bacon cheeseburger. Something, I say classic, now we've got these monstrosity burgers that are amazing if you're at like a sit down restaurant, but something that's like this big and you need a fork and knife. No, I need something wrapped in aluminum foil that I can hold in my hand like this and go to town as I'm watching the game. So
yeah, you can't have any two-handers at the stadium. It's all got to be like, I mean, I think the nachos are an exception, but that's like, they're still very controlled. And like it's easy to, especially at a football game, you're like crammed in like this with people, and like you can't be like trying to eat a like 10-pound hamburger, like stuff dripping everywhere.
That's just rude.
It's rude. It's impractical.
It's rude and it's impractical. And Luke, I will also say the DIY cocktails definitely get the honorable mention for sure. Yeah. So whatever that may be, there's a lot of options you can do there.
Yeah. Now I'd like to take this moment to give a shout out to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for having very affordable concessions. If you go to like they have like the restaurants inside there that are very expensive, but you can get like Cokes and just regular stuff for like normal prices, like $2, that kind of thing. And then reverse shout out for the Cobb County Braves, where everything is $1 million. So it's just my Atlanta sports concessions rankings right there.
And because we're on a podcast here, I'm going to take this moment to ask Mercedes-Benz to be our sponsor. Please sponsor us. That'd be super.
I would love that. I went there today. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, got a vaccine, 2 out of 2, both of the dome.
Congratulations.
The fine facility Mr. Blank has, and Mercedes Benzes are great, and I can't wait to have one. So thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you, Mercedes. Please be our sponsor. So that's halftime hot takes, stadium food power rankings. You can catch us live every Tuesday here on Twitch, or just